The Black Bulls are the ragtag group of magical ruffians who serve to protect the Clover Kingdom and its people. Through lack of harsh judgment and familial bonds, this brigade formed into the most powerful squad in the entire nation. Whether it's cutting dimensions, deals with devils, negating magic, changing fate, eating magic, summoning clones from the mirror world, reverting magic no matter how strong it is. The point is, you absolutely do not want to mess with the Black Bulls. And because of how strong this squad is, the fandom ranks them in order of how they see fit. And after doing my ranking of the captains over a month ago, now it's my time to make my own ranking of the most infamous squad in the Clover Kingdom. The list was incredibly hard to make and keep consistent as well, and took a lot of time. I really needed to surpass my limits to make this video. I even had to sit down and rewatch the entire anime canon so I could get a proper scale going, as many of the Black Bulls really don't have any good feats in the Spade arc. Due to the power of the devils and foes that were introduced, a lot of Black Bulls really took the sideline. So any scaling that comes after chapter 331 in the manga is irrelevant to this video, as that is a 15-month time skip, so unless if it adds context via flashbacks or statements to previous points of the series, like of the Spade Saga, it's irrelevant. Also, spoiler warning to the manga. If you have not read the BlackClover manga, you will be spoiled. Before we get in the video, I want to give a huge shout out to my webtoon. If you guys really want to help me and Arthur DeBarrow out, we are participating in the Webtoons Call to Action contest, where we write a chapter that involves an action scene and get submitted to Webtoon. And the top 10 get awards, but really the top 3 is what we want to shoot for, because that means you get published by Webtoon. 40% of the score is based on popularity, so if you really want to help us out, please go read the chapter, link down below, but also, more importantly, press the like button on the chapter, follow or subscribe the chapter, rate the chapter, and then comment on the chapter as well. Basically, our chapter is a prequel to the Nine Fates story, and it is a cosmic battle between gods, so I think you guys would really like it, especially if you like some battle Norse fantasy stuff. With that being said, let's get into the ranking for this video. I do need to start by saying that not a single one of the Black Bulls are weak, none are useless. Some of the Black Bulls are support mages, and they enhance the squad with their ability to help others. But this is a power scaling ranking video, so keep that in mind. Even a very useful character like Vanessa and her fate magic could be low on the list despite her fate manipulation being incredibly useful. And I guess that means we can start the list now, because coming at 15th place out of 15 members in the Black Bulls is Vanessa Ynoteka. I get it, Vanessa stands, but don't hate me. She just has not shown anything as of yet that gives her that much power credence in the Spade Saga. As in the Spade Saga, her appearance amounted to just spamming absolute evasion on the battlefield to save her fellow Black Bulls, while also being an ally with the other Black Bulls, so she didn't really have any feats of her own. While Vanessa has the ability to become a competent battle mage, as her threads can move her around at high speeds, neg attacks, or bind enemies, we don't know how much stronger she's gotten since we've last seen her displaying her combat abilities. At the last time we saw her combat on display was against Rufel, who only scales to an Elf Arc Black Asta. Same with her attack potency, as her threads were able to be strong enough to pull on Black Asta. She's likely way stronger, or she's definitely way stronger, we just don't know how much, so we can't really put her that much higher on the list. She has hardly any scaling going forward, which is not the case for the next Black Bull. At number 14, Gauche Adley. It's funny because Gauche started out as a much more of a combat mage, but since then, he's become much more of a support mage in the Spade Saga, as he really has no combat scaling. His role now is to essentially just activate mirror brigades on his more potent allies like Gray, but the reason that Gauche scales above Vanessa is because of his mid-time skip scaling. The anime canon gives Gauche some pretty good feats. At Sister Teresa's celebration dinner, Mereoleona and Fugolion would end up butting heads and begin a fight. After a bit of bickering, Fugolion and Mereoleona would say that they are done holding back and unleash their full power. The chaos of their conflict was putting Marie in danger, which forced Gauche into action. He launched volleys of reflected light at the fiery knights, both of them taking away their distraction from their own battle to block Gauche's attacks. This could be taken as an implication that he could have at least partially damaged them if they felt the need to actually have to block them themselves. But even if you don't buy it, he should scale at least relative to Droa, as the human vessels maintained a portion of the elven power after losing them. But where Gauche really gets the advantage is his speed, as he dodged a spell from Mereoleona. These two captains were already way stronger and faster than they were in the Elf Arc, as they were training together with Leopold, and Mereoleona went from being slower and weaker than base Asta to drastically above even Asta's anti-mana skin. Black Asta got bodied by the spider, and that spider was actually scared of Meridiona's magic power. So Ghost would be stronger than Vanessa and far faster, and he could do something like creating a real clone of himself in the mirror world. We could also add on that Ghost was able to damage Damnatio, someone whose magic is strong enough to nerf all the Black Wolves at once, though it is hard to say how much of Damnatio's power lies in his actual potency, whereas it's just a hacks-based ability. Now, in a fight, if he did fight Vanessa, Rouge really wouldn't be super useful. I guess it would protect her from being damaged, but remember that Rouge also protected Luck when Magna tried to fight, and when it was actually Rueful. So Rouge would just see them fighting, and Vanessa would likely have to just negate the spell, like she did when Luck and Magna were fighting, and then also joined the fight as well. At number 13 is my boy Gordon Agrippa, who's actually way stronger than you thought. In the mid-time skip, he learned Mana Skin and trained with everyone else on the underground volcano to get drastically stronger. In this training event, Gordon actually surpasses the power of Black Asta. Let me explain. The entrance of the underground volcano is hotter than the regular volcano that they trained in earlier. And the deeper you get, the hotter it gets, and because of that, the deeper Gordon gets, the stronger he gets, as you would need to be stronger to actually get deeper. He even makes it to the dungeon at the bottom, which is stated to be vastly stronger than even the previous portion of the region. And because Asta needed anti-mana skin at the beginning of the cave entrance, that means that Gordon by the end scales heavily above anti-mana skin Asta. And furthermore, Black Asta would get folded by this spider beast, and Leopold would fight better against that spider beast, and that scales Leo above that version of Black Asta. And then a stronger version of Leopold gets folded by these golems, yet Gordon just strolls in and one-shots this golem. So yeah, Gordon in the mid-time skip is already stronger than Black Asta. Respect my unconfident homie. Just think about it, this is Black Asta. He is far stronger than Black Asta that fought Spirit Ladros. So Gordon is just blamming Spirit Ladros. Gordon is blamming Veto. Respect Gordon Agrippa. At number 12 is Magna Swing. Now, I'm not even going to mention his Soul Chain Deathmatch, as the spell is essentially just an equalizer, and equalizing magic power between him and who he ensnares, but Magna is likely not going to be fast enough to nail anyone above him that much higher on the list with Soul Chain, and it will really depend on who he fights on if he will win. Dante was really the perfect person to use his spell against, as Dante spent his entire life being way stronger than everybody else, whereas it was the exact opposite for Magna. He was always weaker than everyone. But for the first time, he was equal to an opponent, and thus he took out the host of the Devil King, Dante. But Magna actually still has good scaling besides this, as he also scales above Black Asta for the same scaling chain as I provided with Gordon. Gordon one-shot that golem, and also Magna one-shot that golem as well, meaning that Magna in the middle of time skip is stronger than Black Asta. But he gets better scaling later, as he negates an attack from the Grand Magic Beast. This Grand Magic Beast that took Yami, Fogolion, and Nozel to take down with some difficulty. And remember that Yami in the pre-time skip could already damage Zagred, and this is a much stronger Yami. Lolopechka even says that this Yami has already ascended to a higher plane, so he's way stronger. No, hold it. I know you're already shrieking at me.
Broku, Magna can't be as strong as Yami.
Cease. This actually wouldn't be the first time it's happened. Let me tell you about one of the Black Clover light novels, which are confirmed to be canon in the Black Clover guidebook. One of the light novels gives us the story of what happened when Luck and Magna traveled to the dungeon in search of a cure for Asta's cursed arms. Not only was this an amazing story that I wish had gotten animated, but it shows an absolutely insane power leap for Magna. So Luck and Magna encounter a stone golem with amazing power. This thing was so strong that even Yami struggled against it in the past. And these golems only get stronger the more they fight. And Magna and Luck both played a significant role in defeating the golem. It was just a 2-on-1. Then 2, they fought 1 and they struggled to defeat it, meaning that they are at least relative to Yami at that point. But it gets even crazier than that, as after defeating one of the golems, Magna and Luck would be faced with a whole 10 of them. 10 golems. Magna states that he's only at 4% power. Yet Magna, after this, gets a power up, and he's able to fight and destroy 10 golems alongside Luck and break his limits. So it was confirmed that this specific power-up by Luck and Magna was gained through breaking their limits and fighting the golems. This means that Magna got over 25 times stronger than he was before, so this is proof that Magna was at one point 25 times stronger than Yami. So in the original script, I actually went more in depth for Magna's power, but I had to cut it because it wasn't necessarily needed and it was just making the video too long. But that scaling essentially comes from him being 500 times weaker than 100% Dante, and then using the Spade Captain scaling to actually prove that Magna is 2 times stronger than Zagred. Now, that would take me a long time to explain to you guys why the Spade Captain scales above Zagred, but I'm actually doing a full in-depth video on that, on why the Spade Captain is stronger than Zagred, but that video is going to be for Wizard King members of the channel exclusively. So if you want to help support the channel and allow me to make more videos of better quality, you can become a member. Vice Captain members get access to cool badges and emojis and more. Brigade Captains will get access to videos over 24 hours early, and Wizard King members get a Twitter follow and at least 1 to 2 exclusive videos per month. And one of the ones this month will be, as I said, the Spade Captain is stronger than Zagred. Now you might think it sounds crazy, but if you watch the anime canon, it's actually pretty blatant. The anime canon really progresses the power progression of Black Clover, and it is canon, so it actually counts. Anyways, coming in at number 11 is Zora Ideal. While many people will scale Zora pretty high, as he was able to intercept an attack from Lucifero and take a punch from him and then revert it back at him, this doesn't actually scale to Zora at all. He doesn't have the speed to actually do this because it wasn't his own speed that intercepted Lucifero, it was Rouge, the Cat of Fate, creating a future where Zora actually made it there in time. So he doesn't have any speed scaling for the top tiers of the verse. As for taking a punch from Lucifero and punching him back, it was a combo spell with Sakura. Sakura likely sealed away the physical damage into Zora's array, allowing him to double the magic and punch with double the force. But Zora still has scaling from the middle of the time skip that puts him likely above base Asta and Magna with his traps. And in his own episode during the time skip, he believed that he himself would get to stage 0 by the end. And considering that he acted as Magna's master and has always been portrayed to have stronger magic power than him, means that he'd scale above Magna. He'd likely have the potency to defeat him, but also he could just use traps on the fly. His traps have been shown to trap or bind people that are way stronger than him, like the many of the elves he was able to trap in the elf arc, so he'd defeat anybody below him on the list, even Magna. At number 10 is Sakura Swallowtail. Don't forget your favorite bird girl in anime, who's actually likely a much more competent warrior than you'd imagine. As in the mid-time skip, she was shown to be pretty competent as she was fighting alongside Valkyrie Noel against Lolopechka and Undine in the training, which means she scales to a mid-time skip Valkyrie Noel in terms of speed, likely combat prowess as well. But Sakura truly shines in the joint struggle arc, where she's able to blitz and seal away 70% Vanica. The only reason her spell failed is because Megicula added a curse spell that weakened magic, which means that Sakura is strong enough to actually seal away Triad members who are at 70% power, which allows her to scale above Zora and Magna, who are both portrayed to be well below that level. She'd be fast enough to blitz the characters below her, as she has speed scaling to 70% Vanica, and then seal them away with ease. And if she got wounded, she could just seal away her own damage as well. Don't let her frail appearance fool you. Sakura really has progressed, as she went from needing all of the magic stones to seal away Zagred's spirit form, but now was strong enough to seal away 70% Vanica with her own might, even though Vanica scales drastically above Zagred. At number 9 is Gray. Her power is actually pretty interesting, and you might think it's crazy for me to put her this high, but it's really not. Her transmutation magic allows her to turn attacks from 80% Morris into non-life-threatening attacks like plants. Keep in mind that she has also reacted to this attack, meaning she has combat speed that scales to 80% Morris, which puts her speed above Sakura since her speed scales to a 70% Vanica, who is likely weaker and slower than Morris. And not only this, but since we have combat speed for Gray, she would be fast enough to touch Sakura, or blitz the other Black Bulls even lower on the list. And if she can touch them, she can win, as her transmutation magic allows her to manipulate the body to move around body tissue with ease. This means that she could not only be the healer with this magic, but also use it to dismantle someone's body and rearrange their guts and flesh just by touching them. So she could dismantle any spell that she could perceive, and then she could just dismantle their bodies by touching them. Or she would just turn them into plants or something like that, and that would act as a win condition. So while she is kind of slept on, the fact that her power is strong enough to work on magic, like from Morris, who's using 80% devil power, just shows how strong her transmutation magic really is. Number 8 is Henry Legolon, and he actually deserves a lot of respect. While a lot of people think of him as weak because he relies on using others' power by absorbing their magic, and he is just a big support mage, that's only partially the case, as he actually has some very impressive scaling in the joint struggle arc, as it was stated that Henry was low on mana because there were barely any Black Bulls around. In fact, he was so tired that he took a nap. What this means is that Henry has his own regular level of power, and him being low on mana means his own power would scale above the feats shown. So a weakened Henry is able to easily withstand a presence of the Demon King from Dante, who was using some portion of his devil power at the beginning of the fight, as shown by his glowing eye, meaning that Henry scales well above even a 50% Dark Disciple, even though he's low on mana. But the crazy part is that Henry is able to withstand 50% Dante's power as well, and even higher since he withstood 60% Dante's gravity. But Henry just finally ran out of magic power at that point in the fight, since he already started so low. But having scaling to a 60% Dante is insanely impressive to say the least. But Henry also fights 80% Morris, and Henry is likely low on mana because there are only a few black voles that have been with him the entire time. Vanessa, Gray, Gauche, and Gordon. This is only one additional mage to when he was low on mana in the joint struggle arc, and yet he could withstand 80% Morris's presence of the Demon King, and could body him while stealing less than 20% of Morris's power. We know that Henry didn't steal that much power from Morris, as we saw that when Dante lost power, his form changed. He lost horns and wings. This does not happen to Morris, meaning that though he clearly lost some power, it wasn't nearly enough to drop him down to, say, 60% devil power. His form is unchanged, which implies that Henry may not have taken that much power to body him. So this means that Henry actually scales to 80% devil power. He would defeat someone like Gray because he'd have better scaling, and she likely would not be able to change his whole building before he could defeat her. And the whole time, Henry would be getting slowly stronger, while also slowly weakening Gray. He would have greater scaling above Sakura as well, as she only scales to a 70% triad, and she would not be able to seal away all of Henry's magic. And characters like Zora and Magna or lower just would not have the combat or speed scaling to match. At number 7 is your favorite hybrid, Charmy Papitzen. Not a lot of people will be surprised that she's not much higher, but that's simply because she has really not very much feats after she fought the 50% Dark Disciple. Sure, she definitely got stronger after learning Ultimate Magic, but she really doesn't have very many feats in the Spade raid arc, besides having the speed of her true magic being on par, or at least relative to the speed of Valkyrie Noel's water magic. So this was a human Charmy, so Dwarf Charmy would logically be far faster, and then with Ultimate Magic likely way above that. This would also imply that her strength got way better if she got faster as well. As Charmy was only able to struggle to defeat a 50% Dark Disciple, who scales well below base Vonica, whereas pre-Ultimate Magic training Valkyrie Noel already scaled low relative to 70% Vanica. And this is a much stronger Noel, since she trained with the elves that were stronger than her, and she actually uses true magic now, and we know that true magic is a drastic increase in power and speed. You'll also have the fact that Charmy punched 80% Morris and sent him flying. Now, Morris was not at full power because he just had his magic absorbed by Henry with Gordon's curse enhancement, but Morris still had 4 horns and 4 wings, meaning he wasn't dropped low enough to like 60%, as Dante only got 4 horns and 4 wings when he ascended to 80%. When he dropped down to 50, he dropped down to 2 horns and 2 wings, which means that base Charmy is relative to 80% Morris now. Imagine how strong she'd be with her dwarven powers activated, paired with true magic, and her unknown ultimate magic as well. She could be way higher on the list, but sadly the majority of her power is left unseen. But she'd scale above Henry for basically already scaling to him in her base form, and then she would scale drastically above him in her dwarf form. She could eat his magic, and then also, whatever her ultimate magic would be way stronger than that as well. At number 6 is Finral. Now I already know what you're trying to say. There's no way that Finral is beating people that are below him on the list. And that's because that Finral is not a combat mage, but just because he doesn't have a conventional attack spell doesn't mean that he is weak or could not win a fight. As under standard battle assumptions, one can be declared a winner by using BFR, which stands for Battlefield Removal. And if they can keep someone away from the battlefield for a week, they can be declared the winner, which would prove to be fruitful for someone like Finral, who has multiple ways of using BFR, like using Fallen Angel's Wing Beat, which allows Finral to launch a massive spatial magic somewhere, and will instantly teleport them elsewhere. Now, of course, this type of spell does not matter if Finral isn't fast enough to use it, but it's clearly shown that Finral has some of the best speed in the Black Clover universe. This actually starts back in the mid-time skip when he's able to face off against the Wind Guardian and do quite well, but that extends to the post-time skip when he's able to easily react to and send away Xenon's bone magic. This Xeno was using a significant portion of his devil power, and likely 80% since he worried about losing to William if William didn't have to save his friends, giving Finral reaction and combat speed to the likes of the 80% triad. This might seem crazy, but it is supported and gets supported even further. Finral has always had great combat and reaction speed, being able to go against the likes of Veto, Fauna, and even Elf Longris. Now imagine his immense training since then, as well as learning true magic, but his speed scaling only gets crazier in the raid arc when he's able to have combat speed that gave Devil Xenon fits. Devil Xenon who scales well above his 100% power self. Now you can say that Finral's own natural speed doesn't necessarily scale to it because he is teleporting, but his speed lies in the activation of it, meaning he can activate his spatial portals well before Xenon can hit him. What this means is that Finral is essentially easily dodging any attacks from the Black Bulls below him, or he's sending their attacks away with spatial magic, and using their own spells against them to take the W. Or he just sends them to the bottom of the ocean, using his nigh infinite stamina that true magic grants to keep them away from the battlefield for a week and then taking the W. But don't forget that Finral also likely has some decent striking strength, as he was able to one-punch Elf Longris and put him into a state of unconsciousness. Number 5 is one of my favorite characters in the entire series, Black Clover's best girl, Noel Silva. She improved heavily in the latest arc as she became the host of the water spirit Undane, and was able to not only perform Spirit Dive, but also attain Saint Stage. With this power, she was able to defeat 100% Vanica, with relatively low difficulty. While she was no match for Megicula on her own, you could argue that she actually has some decent feats against her, like how Megicula needed to use her Decaying World in order to neg Noel's largest spell, which is implying that it would likely have damaged her if she let it hit her. And Noel was able to dodge an attack from Megicula when she dodged the Unbound Slave spell. She was strong enough to destroy Megicula's heart as well, and withstood multiple curse spells from her, as Megicula landed many curse spells on Noel and could not fully negate her Valkyrie armor. And it does seem that Noel got a love amp, as after recognizing her love for Asta, she regains her Spirit Dive and goes into her final Saint Stage. In this form, she can stab her sword inside of Decaying World, and while Decaying World is strong enough to halt her attack, it's not strong enough to decay it anymore, so she'd have way better combat skills than Finral, and at least comparable speed, meaning that Finral couldn't easily BFR Noel away, and her attack potency and durability would prove to be too much for Finral or any of the Black Bulls lower on the list. And number 4 is Luck Voltia, and I already know that a lot of people are going to give me shit for putting Luck above Noel Silva, but you gotta hear me out. This goes above and beyond just Luck fighting 4 mid-ranked devils. This can't even be considered a good feat for Luck. They're mid-rankers, they'd scale below Zagred. It really seemed that he was only testing his ability to kill them with ultimate magic, not how strong he really was. What Luck's real feats are is, he's able to blitz and casually one-shot one of Megicula's giant disciples, who are actually incredibly powerful foes, as even the smaller devil disciples were able to be a threat to base Asta, the same base Asta who could withstand the power of Devil Lepechka's explosion that was vaporizing her devil water magic. Curse-controlled Lolo was already arguably above 100% Vanica, and got way stronger as a devil, and Rill was already relative to 100% Vanica for being able to withstand an elongated battle with her. And we know that Rill's creations scale from his magical power. These giant disciples are made of several of the devil disciples, and these devil disciples were able to fight, damage, and kill and amped Rill's Valhalla Valkyries. But Luck's true scaling comes from him being able to obliterate Megicula. A lot of people see this panel and automatically think that it was a combo spell that did the Cursed Devil in. But that doesn't seem to be the case, as we see 2 types of magics in the panel. We see complex runes coming from the sky, and 2 beams of magic coming that actually damage Megicula. We know that the spells in the sky are likely Gaja's, because that's the type of spell he constantly makes, a hexagonal array. So it's very likely that these 2 beams are from Luck, as we have 2 different types of attacks. One is very clearly from Gaja, the other is likely from Luck, which means that Ultimate Magic Luck has the speed and the attack potency scaling to the Devil of Curses herself, himself, herself, himself, themself. So yeah, Luck scales above Noel. I believe it'd be a close fight, but he is superior in speed and power, and is a much better fighter than Noel. At number 3 is the Black Bulls vice captain, Noctfaust. He's quickly becoming one of the fan-favorite characters in the entire series, and it wasn't just because of his good looks or bad boy persona. Sure, that has played a role, but it's also just how strong he is in the verse. I mean, the Black Bulls are by far the strongest brigade, so him ranking it at number 3 proves his own power. When we first see Noct, we see him casually send away a Dark Disciple, and he also easily binds Devil Arm Asta as well. With a little bit of devil power, he can essentially blitz the captains, sending his devils to hold them down before most of them could even react. But his real good scaling starts with him in Devil Union. With this level of power, he can easily fight and defeat Devil Arm Black Asta. This Asta being even stronger than the one that was able to defeat 80% Dante. But what gets insane is that he fought the Supreme Devils Lilith and Nama. Now, sure, they were suppressed for the entirety of that fight, but the level of power they used was stated to be way higher than the 80% Triad. Noct was able to dodge their spells with the agility characteristic from his Cat Devil, and he's done that both in regular Union, and he did it with Mana Zone on top of that as well. And then while in his double Devil Union, he was able to trap Lilith and Nama in an alternate dimension, forcing them to use both of their full powers to break apart Noct's shadow world. Noct does have some decent scaling against Lucifero as well, like he technically had the durability to withstand a punch from Lucifero. Though all of his devil magic was washed away, it really didn't do that much damage to him personally, just his magic. He also has landed attack on Lucifero. Even if Lucifero casually destroyed it anyways, it still gives him, I guess, some sort of speed scaling. This would be a sizable jump in power for Noct to go from the twins to Lucifero, but you could argue that his double union is stronger because it's comprised of different devils, or that because it's his second time using double union that he's more proficient with it, or a bit of both, or a lot of both, or even that mid-ranking devils just eat the mana around them, so because of that, Noct's devils are now even stronger because they've been eating the mana around him. That's possible. But we know that because of this scaling that Noct would defeat Ultimate Magic Luck or any of the Black Bulls beneath him, as just look at what Noel could do to Magicula. His Mercury magic couldn't even be negated by Magicula's Decaying World, yet with a Valhalla amp, Noel couldn't do anything against Lucifero, so if Luck only has scaling to Magicula, it's not enough for him to have clear advantages in stats to Noct. Not only does Noct also have an actual speed advantage, but he also has his teleportation with his shadow magic, and even if you disagree and think that characters lower than him are actually a bit stronger, well, Noct will just create shadow clones of himself and ruin that notion. At number 2 is your favorite captain, Yami Sukahiro, the god of destruction, the prince of darkness, the man who was chosen to bring chaos into the world, but instead he's decided to screw that fate, becoming one of the strongest good guys in all of Black Clover. Sure, he struggled with 80% Dante in the joint struggle arc, but he got way stronger, being amped by the cliff-off ritual itself, becoming strong enough to actually be fast enough to intercept Lucifero's punch and no-sell the strike. Remember that just a chapter earlier, Noct's devil power was decimated by the same punch. So Yami has way higher durability than Noct. But not only that, but Yami has the hacks and power to go against Noct, like with Dimension Slash and Death Thrust. But Noct can create clones of himself, and he can even use shadow magic to block key sensing. So, maybe I'll have to flop these. Should I? No. It doesn't matter if Noct can block key sensing, because Yami's Black Moon, which can neg the effects of Lucifero's gravity, would then be strong enough to protect him from the spell that blocks key sensing. And then if Noct tried to trap Yami in his Shadow World spell, he'd just break out of it with Dimension Slash. But while I do believe Yami to be stronger and faster than Noct, the issue comes from Noct's ability to make the shadow clones of himself that have equal power to himself, which I do believe would prove difficult for Yami, even though I do believe that Yami's faster and he has higher reaction speeds with Ki, and because of Dimension Slash and Death Thrust, I think he'd actually only barely win in a fight with Noct because of Noct's amazing abilities. Yami Sukahiro might be the strongest captain in the Order of Magic Knights of Clover, but he's not even the strongest of his own squad. That title is granted to Asta, more specifically Asta in his true Devil Union form, as he was able to defeat half-manifested Lucifero with his full power, absolutely bodying him, showing far superior speed, attack potency, durability, and even strength. Meanwhile, the previous two below him had to fuse their power by using a combo spell, activating Monozone full release just to scratch a lesser Lucifero. So yeah, even the Shadows Playground, which scales way above Yami or Noct individually, pales in comparison to true Devil Union Asta. I don't care if Asta only has 5 seconds, he's just straight up bodying Yami or Noct. Yami only intercepted Lucifero when he wasn't going all out, and he doubled his power to counter Zora's spell, so Asta is way more than 2 times stronger and faster than Yami or Noct individually. On top of him having like passive magic erasure around him, as well as having his own version of Dimension Slash and Black Divider and Black Slash as well, Asta could just use the Demon Destroyer to pause Noct or Yami in their tracks, and then just pull up and one-tap either of them, or any of the other Black Bulls for that matter. Asta's far stronger, faster, more durable than anybody in the Black Bulls, and has an affinity advantage over all of them with some decent abilities to boot. So yeah, not even close, Asta is the strongest Black Bull. With that being said, please let me know if you did enjoy this video down below. It took a lot of work to make, so let's shoot for 3,000 likes on this video. I think we can do 3,000. You can subscribe and turn notifications. Please become a member of the channel to really help me out. The more members we get, the more videos you guys will get as well. Both regular videos on the channel and videos for the Wizard King members only as well. Also, please check out the webtoon submission for the contest. Please go read it, like it, subscribe to it, rate it, comment on it. That will really help us possibly win the contest. Join my Discord called Bronderheim. We're getting more and more members, and it's getting really fun talking to you guys. I'm in there every day. Hope you guys do all have an amazing day. Peace out.